What got you into law? Was it parents? Was it, what got you into it?
I really wanted to do something that would become beneficial to people. An incident took place when we were about 15, 16 years old, young teenagers, and where my good friend ended up doing a 9-year custodial sentence. And I thought more could have been done.
Name is Akhmed Yakoob.
Mr. Yakoob, you've changed the face of law.
Remember, there's a defense for every offence.
Look, people have this understanding that once they get arrested for something, a lot of people don't know what needs to happen, that you are entitled to make phone calls, that you are allowed a solicitor.
Essentially, you were left with no staff?
Me,
You,
myself, and I.
and you were doing the business running, the billing, the everything.
Everything.
If I'm sitting there, they pulled me over, license registration, whatever they say, what sort of things should I be aware of? What rules exist? What can I do? What can't I do?
Well, first of all, you need to ask them.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the TED Talks YouTube podcast, everything channel. Now, we're about being better, and the gentleman next to me is a solicitor, right? Is that the correct
Yes.
title? And a lot of solicitors I know are not on TikTok, are not on Instagram, don't respond to emails or calls. I don't even know what they look like. But you have a very public profile, which for me is definitely something of interest and something that maybe others in the law profession could learn from. I'm sure we'll delve further into why you have such a presence and how it helps your business, and maybe some of the negatives as well of building a brand. So before we get into it, and before we talk about your company, which is behind us there, like, what was life like growing up for you?
Life like growing up was good. I wouldn't say it was bad. It was good. I had a good upbringing. And in terms of studying, I did keep my head down compared to my friends around me, because the area that I grew up in wasn't like the best area. You see, everyone was into all sorts, but I managed not to get too involved in all of that stuff and focused on what I wanted to do.
Well, what instilled that in you? Because a lot of people from like similar areas or the same area, like you said, were doing stuff that maybe wasn't the best for them or their future. So what kept you like on the straight and narrow and kind of got you to where you are now?
My religion, my faith in God, fear of God. I think that would be probably the best reason.
And that comes from family then, sort of instilling that at a young age?
Yeah, instilling at a young age, but not necessarily, no. It's something that I don't know. Since I was very young, I had the fear of God inside me.
And did you see, I suppose there's many layers to that, in the sense that how does one get that, and then how does it sort of manifest in their life? Your other friends who are from the same faith as you, did they all have that same kind of fear of God, or did some of them not feel it the way you did?
No, everyone's level of faith is different, isn't it? So I can't judge you like that, but I don't know, their connection to the Lord was probably far greater, but everyone has different levels of faith. So some people have more fear of God and some people have less fear of God. I was the one of those who's got more fear of God, who's had more fear of God from a young age.
And then, being a solicitor is a good job, in the kind of Asian community, right? Solicitor, doctor, lawyer,
engineer, yeah.
What got you into law? Was it parents? Was it, what got you into it?
It's few things got me into law. I really wanted to do something that would become beneficial to people, be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? And I've had that sort of mindset since I was a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
An incident took place when we were about 15, 16 years old, young teenagers, and where my good friend ended up doing a 9-year custodial sentence. And I thought more could have been done to prevent that sentence. At that time it was that. And then the financial element of it, as well, as I seen lawyers charge a lot of money for people I knew for their cases. So if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And, kind of growing, with law, at least from an outside perspective, it seems a very slow process to go from sort of graduating to qualifying to then becoming a partner. It seems like a lifelong pursuit of...
It usually will take this long. Just say now you've graduated from law school, then you'll have 1 year of the legal practice course.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you will have to look for a training contract which can last for about 2 years. And after that, you go and look for a job. If the same firm who you have completed your training contract with doesn't hire you, even if they hire you, you have to work for 3 years as a qualified solicitor, and then you can go and become a partner and open your own firm.
And is that what you followed? Did you follow the traditional
No,
path?
my path was a little bit different. My path was basically LLB, then I did my legal practice course straight away. Then I joined a firm which I was with for about 2 years. That's when I did my training contract. And then, or just after a year after that, I became the director of this place where who I bought the firm off was Maurice Andrews, Mr. Andrews. So he stayed on as a partner. After I finished my 3 years post-qualification experience, PQE, he's come off as directorship, and then I just became a single director.
And, you know, for people who are listening to this, watching this, who are in law or studying law, you've had quite a quick progression compared to a lot of people.
Yeah, but I've took a lot of risks. I took a lot of risks with other people in my position wouldn't have taken. That's where I've got to where I am today, alhamdulillah. And the Lord has been, of course, very grateful.
And those risks, were they
Very
calculated risks?
Not really. In my head, they were calculated, but everyone else thought there wasn't.
So, you know, when all these people were telling you, don't take that risk, this is silly, you shouldn't be doing that, you know, all this kind of people looking and commenting, why didn't it stop you?
Well, I wanted to prove everybody wrong. That was one of my main motivation at that period, during that period. And I'm one of those people, I'm very competitive. I don't like to give up. And once I decide I want to do something, the whole world could be against me. And if I know the Lord is with me and I've got His blessings, I just go for it. That's exactly what I did, to be fair.
And, you know, in terms of those risks, are you able to share what they are?
Yeah, first of all, the main risk was, first of all, buying this firm. And I had to, of course, borrow money to buy this firm. And it was a firm which was winding down. But at that time, I had two options. I could have either waited for that 1 year and become 3 years PQE and open a fresh firm,
Okay.
or buy this firm and be 1 year ahead of everybody else who was in my thingy. But it would mean it was a substantial sum of money, you know. So that was the risk I took, and I thought, yes, I'm going to buy this firm. Even though the following was almost gone, I knew, because it's been around for so long, the reputation was there, if you get what I mean.
And are there other, because obviously with law there's red tape, there's insurance, there's a lot of things that you have to get. You can't just set it up, there's a lot of things around it. So was buying this easier than setting up on your own, because it kind of came
It's
with...
more or less the same thing, because this was a partnership, a limited liability partnership. I turned into a company. So it's more or less the same thing. What I had to do, what I would have done with a fresh firm, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and did it come with any staff?
Yes, but they all left me.
Okay.
Gradually, they all left me.
And so essentially you were left with no staff?
Me,
You,
myself, and I.
and you were doing the business running, the billing, the everything.
Everything. So I used to come in the morning, 5 a.m. That was the start. For those 18 months to 2 years, I never had a life apart from this place. So when people say this guy got lucky, no, I didn't. Alhamdulillah, I was with the help of the Lord. The thing is, the Lord blesses you, and you are put in situations where good luck finds you if you work hard. Because the Lord is watching. When you are working every day to provide for your family good means of income, and it makes opportunities for you, it makes ways for you. So those 2 years, 18 months to 2 years, I was basically coming in the morning, 5 a.m. Kid you not, coming in, doing some paperwork. If I go to a police station before 9 a.m, I have to go to a police station and get back for 9 a.m, open up the office, be on the phones, and then if I had to go to court, I would divert the phone to my mobile and go to court, represent whatever I have to do, come back, write up, then probably go to a police station again. I was leaving the office for about 11 p.m., 12 a.m.
Wow.
So those were the hours I was putting in.
And people don't want to hear that, right? People want
18, 19 hours a day. Yeah. 18, 19 hours. I never used to go to the gym, hardly any time with family, just coming home to sleep and getting back up, going back to work, coming home, going back to sleep. And then, of course, it pays off then.
Of course.
And at one point, when I took this firm over, I had a £15,000 overdraft from Lloyd's Bank. And that was finished, almost gone. So I only had £1,500 left. And that's when I started making a bit of money. And then since then, I've not looked back. We're talking 2017. So alhamdulillah, I've been blessed.
And then, during that time, you would have been, younger, you would have been newer.
Yeah.
And solicitors, at least from the outside, is a very sort of older man's game. There doesn't seem to be a lot of diversity in it. Did you face challenges with people sort of looking at you and saying, hold on, you're the owner and you're doing this?
Of course, yeah, definitely, 100%, yeah.
How do you handle that? Because there's a lot of people who are 20, 19, 22 who want to start business and do things, but they're scared about this.
You gotta know how to conduct yourself. You gotta provide something. You gotta provide a service. So if people are coming to you and you are talking sense, this could be in any field of law, any field, not just in law. In any industry, you have to be confident with how you speak. You gotta be confident in what you are providing. If you're selling something, you gotta be able to back what you're selling up. So I'm selling here a service essentially. So if I'm sitting here, clients ain't stupid. No clients are stupid. So if I'm sitting here and chatting gibberish, clients they're not stupid, they will know. They will know if I'm chatting gibberish, and they can confront me even if they don't confront me. They rather confront me, because if they don't confront me, they'll just go and never come back and
talk to other people.
Never recommend me to anybody. So it's better if they do confront me, and most of them, they don't confront you. If they're not happy with you, they will go, because nobody's got time to argue with people these days or have disagreements with people these days. I don't have no time to have any disagreements with anyone. If somebody is telling me these days that 2 + 2 = 5, I'll say, okay, no problem, I'll walk off. It's got to that level now, and I don't think anybody's got time to have disagreements with people, so they just go, you lose business for free. So you have to be very confident in the way you speak, and you got to know what you're saying. You got to have some sustenance to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on that topic of like diversity, most solicitors that I see are older white men in suits.
Yep.
And I look through the pages of the teams and I think, sorry, where's someone who looks like us? So
it's hard, and it's hard. Sometimes people do make fun of you. I'm not going to sit here and lie. When I first started, people used to make fun of the way I talk. Loads of people used to say, the courts are not going to take him seriously. He's not respected in that circle. But a couple of years down the line, I'm one of the most recognised, if not the most recognised lawyer in the UK. And I don't just talk. I actually back it up with my results. Most videos that I post are about my results. And the actual people be sitting next to me. If they never had confidence in me, they would not come and sit here and get their face in camera and saying they have been accused of such and such. But they've got confidence in me. They come here, they sit here. Some of them actually say to me, look, we want to come and make a video and show appreciation. So that shows something, and these people, my clients, I represent people from whole of England and Wales, so London, up north, Bradford, Manchester, everywhere. So and people are talking good about me. There will always be people talking bad about you.
of
The
course.
negativity always follows. If you've got a attitude that is contagious, if you've got energy that is contagious, you will automatically attract negativity towards you. And that happens, that's life. Some people can't digest how others feel about you. That's all it is. If somebody's coming up to people and saying this guy's a good guy, and a few people go up and say the same thing, this guy's doing well in life, that sometimes some people feel like, no, they have that bad feeling about that individual in their hearts. But how I say is karma's real, so the craftiness, the negativity, it all come back to you one day. It will come back to you. The Lord's watching. So don't have no craftiness or negativity about other people in your heart if you don't want bad stuff to happen to you.
Yeah, I think even if people are not religious, it's a good kind of mantra to follow, right? About how you should behave.
That's normal. That's good behavior. That's human behavior.
Yeah.
It should be like that. Animal behavior is different. When other animals are eating, another animal will come and try to take the food off them. Humans shouldn't behave like that.
We've got too much cognition to
We are
behave
programmed
like
differently, exactly. So why are we behaving like animals? If someone's doing well, push them more. Say good stuff about them. Don't say bad stuff about them, because it's just gonna bring that negative energy back around to you. You know?
100%.
And like you said, that's not religious. That's normal.
That's just good
Human
ethics,
nature.
good morals. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, after those 18 months, 2 years of absolute graft where it was just you doing everything, you know, did it then build a name for yourself and start attracting staff? Like, how did you then scale up to how big is the company now?
We're quite big now. We're very busy, and I've got there's 11 staff members, 12 staff members.
So from going from just you to kind of 11,
Yeah.
how did you scale up and how did you then relinquish some control, I suppose, to sort of get the staff structure in place and have a team
So
around you?
first, I've got people who I knew personally. Some people I've got working here, my family members, so they come on board initially, and I had to teach them what to do, what not to do, and it was all a starting process. And there's a lot of teething problems at start, but I think now, 5.5, 6 years down the line, I could say I'm well settled in the business now, and it can run without my involvement on a daily basis.
Okay.
So, which is good.
And, you know, so you started this business in what year?
Well, I took over in 2016.
So 2016 you took over, and now we're talking
And this was 16, so about 6 years.
about 6 years. And as you said, you're one of the most recognised, you know, with the public profile solicitors in the UK. People don't want to hear that, right? That's too long. People just want it instantly, right? And there's something with the generation nowadays and people who see.
See, they see the good stuff, but they don't see the. I know you asked that. They don't see what's come behind it. They think people have just come like this.
They see the yellow Lamborghini.
Yeah,
and they say,
exactly.
oh, I get
The other
that.
Lamborghini, I had it for 2 years. I've only been doing social media for 2 years. So I had it before I was on social media.
Yeah.
So they think it's easy. It's very hard. It's very hard. And to build a social media profile is very hard too.
Very hard.
Very hard.
How did you learn that? Because as a solicitor, I assume you're never taught about social media or
No.
anything.
See, it was just one of them days I made a video, and I seen people make videos about, you know, crap stuff, waste of time stuff. And then I thought to myself, I could do this, and I could talk a bit of sense, I could do better than them.
Okay, yeah.
So I made one video and sort of went viral, and that's it. Then I just started making videos after that, and then I stopped for a bit, and then last about 3-4 months I've been basically uploading almost on a daily basis, and my following's like double now.
Yeah.
So it's it's just going higher and higher all the time. So a lot of people are sending me my own videos saying, you know, they're going viral and everything like that. So it's good.
I mean, it's definitely unique for a solicitor. Like I said at the start, that's why I'm here. That's why people have had you on podcast, because you're one of the very few, maybe only one I can think of, who is talking about legal things in an engaging, interesting way. Because law is
free advice, and I'm not just sitting there, like you said, it's engaging. I'm not just sitting there and reading from a book, or just sitting there and it's been boring about stuff. I'll give real life scenarios, I'll give examples, so people, like you said, they get engaged. And I don't like to hide behind big words. I like to explain things in simple terms.
which you do, yeah.
And people understand. A lot of people actually thank me. That's why, of course, people are following me. Most people, I assume, who follow me, like me. Probably a very small percentage are just the investigators and whatever they are. So the observers, so they like me. So I am doing something right, aren't I? And it's hard. Like, people think it's easy to. It's very hard to grow social. So people turn around and say, "Oh, he's doing it because of TikTok, or doing it because of Instagram, or whatever it is." It's hard.
And you're talking about a topic which, you know, let's be honest, law is full of big words, full of jargon. It's very hard to understand in every type of law, but you're breaking it down. So you're kind of demystifying, you know, because I've read like The Secret Barrister and books like that, and got some insight into like what it's like, at least from the government's perspective, and the corruption and things like that, which we talk about.
Yeah.
But you're demystifying something which most people would look at and say, if I'm accused of a crime, that's it. I've just got to take a Crown prosecution defence and just, suck it up. But
Yeah, that's what it is. Look, people have this understanding that once they get arrested for something, a lot of people don't know what needs to happen, that you are entitled to make phone calls, that you are allowed a solicitor, and you are allowed a solicitor free of charge. You can get free and independent legal advice at the police station without paying a single penny, and that is going to be paid from the government. So you can call out Maurice Andrew Solicitors at the police station for free. A lot of people, like yesterday I had a couple of people coming up to me in Birmingham Crown Court, and they said, it'll be, how expensive is it to hire you, Mr. Yakoob? So to tell them, I don't just do private work, I do legal aid work, and that's the majority of the work that I get. Because not everyone has money to pay us, which is, we have to accept the fact not everyone has the money to pay us. And most people who are accused of crime, they don't make much money. That's why they find themselves in scenarios that they are accused of crime. Some are guilty, some are not. So,
with legal aid, from what I read,
yeah.
and I'd love your sort of insight on it from you, is that you, as a solicitor firm, it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of waiting around, a lot of rubbish from the courts, and you don't make that much money?
No, it depends. It depends. I mean, I specialize mainly in big cases, which means they are big trials, and legal aid, it doesn't pay as well as private cases, but if you got volume, you're making money.
Okay.
You're making money. I've got a practice which is very successful. Of course, I'm making money. That's why I'm still up and running. I've seen a lot of practices closing down because of legal aid cuts, but I think the structure was a bit different. I don't focus much on, should I say like that, the less serious offences. I focus more on the high-end stuff, and that's why I am recognised.
Because they're more high profile, which therefore
Of
gets you...
course, exactly. Most of my cases are widely reported in the media. 2 cases right now that are happening, one in Leicester Crown Court and one in Birmingham Crown Court. They are widely reported in the media across the whole UK. So my cases are high-end cases. So I don't need my team or my overheads to be huge. Once you start taking work from every single angle, and you're dealing with your domestic violences, and you're dealing with your twats taken without consent, you need people to service that work. So you need solicitors to go to court for that work. You get what I mean? Whereas if you have dealing with all the big cases, you've got a specific number of people, and that person is dealing with that case, that person is dealing with that case, and it's more easily managed, and you make more money. Yeah, that's a business strategy that I've adapted since I've taken over this firm.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like selling luxury items. You might sell less to less people. The margin's high, you make more money, and the reputation of a luxury brand versus a non-luxury brand is different. So it's...
There you go. The turnover for the non-luxury brand probably is more.
Yeah.
But the profit for the luxury brand is going to be more.
Exactly.
Exactly, there you go.
And speaking of profit and turnover, you're going back to your TikToks, your Reels. Since you've started doing them and as you've grown, have you noticed, an impact on your bottom line, on your business, new business?
Well, not necessarily yet, but I think I will. Because what I've done is I've planted the seed in people's heads that, look, if you do get into trouble, you're calling Mr. Yakoob.
I mean, I'm calling you, yes.
There you go. So that seed is planted. So not everyone's going to get arrested straight away. If you get what I mean. Out of the 1 million people who view my videos, probably 1%, not even 1%, 0.1% are going to get arrested eventually.
Yeah.
But they will tell all their family members. And of course, I've only been doing this for about 2 years now, just over 2 years. So the phone calls have increased, of course. The attention is increased, but we won't see the money, because even if a criminal trial starts, it could last a whole year. So we won't see the money till after the year. So the recognition and the business has increased, but we won't see it financially yet.
I think that's good to know for people, because people could very easily assume, okay, you've done the videos, you must be killing it, but actually,
no,
there's a process.
There's still a process. So any lawyer that thinks that I'm going to start making videos, I'm going to get rich in 1 year, 2 years. Think again, man. Think again.
And with the type of law you practice, is it only defence?
Yeah, only defence. I would never prosecute anybody.
Why would you never prosecute?
I would never prosecute. I don't think I've got it inside me. If that person might actually be innocent, I don't want to be someone who sends an innocent person to prison. I'd rather risk saving a guilty man. Like the French philosopher Voltaire said, it is better to risk saving a guilty man than to condemn an innocent one.
That's a that's an ethical debate in itself, I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously other people would disagree with you and say,
Benjamin Franklin, he said, it is better 100 innocent men get set free than one. Sorry, it is better 100 guilty men get set free than one innocent man go to prison.
Interesting. And then with the fact that you're defending people who could be guilty, could not, but actually,
What would you risk? An innocent man doing life in prison, or someone who's guilty walking out? What would you? I don't know. Morally, I don't know.
I don't know, because
What we have to follow is we've got a duty to the court not to mislead the court.
Yeah.
As long as we don't cross them boundaries, then we can do what we want in terms of our defense.
Yeah.
As long as we're not misleading the courts. So if someone, I don't know, I mean, sometimes people look like they're guilty.
Yeah.
In conspiracies, all sorts of cases, it looks like they're guilty. So if I'm phoning you, you're phoning somebody else, and they get arrested with some drugs, it looks like I'm involved in the conspiracy. I'm always with you. You know what I mean? You go inside the house and you pick up something, you put in your pocket, you come back out, later on they find you, that's drugs or that's money, whatever it is. I'm always around you, I'm always with you. They automatically going to think I'm involved.
Of course.
But I probably might have not done nothing. I probably don't know what you're up to.
Yeah.
You know? So you can easily walk into a conspiracy. So there are people there that sometimes I genuinely believe they've done nothing wrong, but it's not for me to believe, or it's not my opinion that counts.
Yeah.
It's the evidence.
And when if someone is accused of a crime and they come to you and say, right, Ahmed, I want you to represent me, etc., etc., do you ask them, did you do it?
Never. I've never asked them. I've never asked the client. What I do is this. We're given a case summary. Yeah. I read the case summary, I observe the case summary. The client reads the case summary, it's his paper, so he has a copy of the papers, doesn't he? So he reads the case summary, he absorbs it. And when we're having a meeting, I'm asking him about the evidence. I'm not asking him if he did it or not. I'm asking him, so what do you have to say about this, Mr. Red?
I see, okay.
What do you have to say about this? What do you have to say about this? I'm getting a response or a reaction to the prosecution evidence.
Yes.
I'm not asking him whether they did it or not. The prosecutor can ask him that.
Yeah.
When he gives evidence at court.
But is that just something that all defense lawyers
of course.
do?
Yeah, I don't think anybody will. We will put the evidence to the client. Sometimes I do say, look, the evidence, this is strong evidence.
Yeah.
This is strong evidence, and if you plead guilty, you'll get a lesser sentence. I'll be honest with you, you'll get convicted at trial. Sometimes we do that, of course we do that, yeah. But then it's still up to the client to say, no, I'm going to have a trial. Regardless of what you say to me, I'm going to have a trial. And that's it. So we're following the client's instructions.
And why don't you ask?
I don't know. That's the way I process myself. That's the way I program myself.
Would it bias decisions potentially? Because the way they say
I don't think nobody ever will ask their clients,
did you do
this?
Yes, I'm trying to say, why not?
I don't think they just go based on evidence. Like I said, they will tell their clients.
It's just this is the evidence.
Yeah, they will tell the clients, this is what they're saying. What are you saying about it? And if the client says yes, they're right, then they're guilty, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a top level approach, basically saying, here's what they've got against you.
Yeah.
What are we saying?
So they said you were driving the car at the time. Yes, I was. They said there was a gun in the car. Yes, there was. They said it's your gun. Now, yes, it was. Okay, you should plead guilty. No, it wasn't. Okay. How did it get there? Like, you know what I mean?
So you can only defend someone based on the truth they tell you, right? They can lie to you, and you have to go off that.
You have to go to exactly whatever they say. Yeah.
And this is
sometimes I do say to them, "Oh, come on." We have to, because we're not silly, we're not stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, yeah." I say, "Listen, man. This kind of stuff won't go with the jury." I have to warn some clients that you won't go. You're better off pleading guilty.
And then, religion is obviously a big thing, right? You mentioned it a couple of times, and I've seen it on other podcasts. How does your faith and this business, this job, how do they meet? How do they work together?
Well, they work together perfectly. I mean, like I said, I don't tell clients what to say, so I'm not doing it wrong. If the clients are instructing me that they are not guilty, and their instructions are basically responses and alternative explanations to the prosecution case, and based on that the clients get a not guilty plea. I've done nothing wrong religion wise. And if I was to it can work both ways. If I see a client, I think, oh, you're guilty, he's guilty, even before speaking to the client, I think that's religiously wrong. I think that's ethically wrong. Yeah, because I'm judging without, giving the guy a fair chance. So,
yeah, I never knew that as lawyers you kind of don't ask that question, but it makes sense because your job is not to judge, it's not to...
Directly, I don't think any lawyer will ask the client, if I'm guilty.
And I suppose it's also not the question you necessarily want to ask, because you shouldn't be biased by the client's opinion. It should be a statement going through it, as you kind of said,
exactly.
to represent them. Now, I've seen a couple of your videos about the police, and I think, we all have our opinions on them. There's been numerous reports, which no one's surprised about at all, sexism, racism, homophobia, etc. And lots of cases of police failing to do their job and going beyond failing and, murdering people, kidnapping, etc. They're supposed to protect us, right? And I think most people know that there's maybe some blurred lines with how effective that is. I'm not to say that if I wasn't in trouble, I wouldn't call them. You work with them day in, day out.
I've got no issue whatsoever with the police. I actually love the police. But like you said, if something was wrong with us, if my house gets burgled or my wife gets robbed and I can't get there, the first people we will phone is the police. Mm-hmm. So we have to commend the ones that, and we can't paint them all with the same brush. If one person is bad, one bad apple, they say that of course they all can get poisoned. That's a different story. Yeah. But we can't judge them all or paint them all with the same brush just because one is like that. Yeah, of course, there's loads of stories about police misconduct and police this and police that. I don't like to get too much into it, but the thing is this: the police have a job to do in a criminal investigation. Their job is to investigate the crime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've had police officers in interviews sometimes that they say, we think you did this. And I've had to interrupt. I've said, officer, it's not your function to say if they did it or not. That's later on, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, in the Crown Court, the man will have a trial. You don't play judge and jury, please. Your job is to investigate.
And they have to listen to you.
They have to listen. Politely, nicely, because they understand their role, they understand their function. My function is that my client does not get mistreated. No breaches of pace are taking place. That's when they're in custody. My other job is, as defense lawyers, is putting forward a defense for our client or mitigating on our client's behalf if the client pleads guilty. And we've got nothing against the police, and the police have nothing against me. I get shown a lot of love by the police, especially the West Midlands police, even other police forces, Manchester police. Wherever I go, they show me a lot of love, which I like. If I really like. I've never had a confrontation with a police officer, never. They're doing the job, I'm doing my job. May the best man win. So then it's the prosecution who are actually prosecuting. So they can have their opinion. Yeah. The police can't have an opinion. They can have their opinion and they can put case number saying, yes, we think that this might be this guy, this might be that man, stuff like that. Then the jury are the ones who make a decision of guilt or not guilty. And the judge directs them.
And, with police, if I'm a common occurrence, you're driving, you get pulled over by the police.
Yeah.
It could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be a random check. Yeah. But if I'm sitting there, they pulled me over, license, registration, whatever they say, what sort of things should I be aware of? What rules exist? What can I do? What can't I do?
Well, first of all, you need to ask them. If they ask a common question they ask when they stop you in a car is, do you know why we've pulled you over?
Every time,
why we've stopped you? Sometimes people panic and say all sorts. So my advice would be just remain calm. and say to the police, no, I don't know why you've stopped me, because it could be for a number of reasons. You probably thinking you're going a bit fast. They probably seen that your tail light is out. You probably crossed the amber crossing. You don't know.
Yeah.
You honestly don't know what's in his head. Why has he stopped you for?
Yeah.
So you don't know why he stopped you, and you're not lying by saying that. And then you respond, no, I don't know, officer, but I'm sure it's a very good reason, and you will tell me, or you will explain it to me. Then they can tell you why they stopped you.
And they have to tell you.
They have to, yeah, of course. They'll say, under suspicion of so and so, or you were going fast, or you was doing this, and can we see your documents? Then you say to them, can I see your badge or your shoulder number? What is it? Because I made a video about this. There's been cases where police officers, people are impersonating police officers and committing robberies and committing all sorts, carjacking and stuff like that. So you have to be aware. You have to be very aware. And then you can ask them after they've checked you. You can ask them, I mean, are you going to arrest me, officer? If they say yes, we're going to arrest you, my advice would be just remain calm, because they're going once you are under arrest, then most likely they will take you to a police station and arrest you, and they've got 24 hours on the clock, so it's not going to make a big difference to them. They can arrest you under suspicion of anything, and then you go there, and then.
And do they need evidence to arrest you on suspicion of something? Do they need to say to you, we have
No, it could be intelligence. It could be intelligence, based on intelligence. It could be anything. They can't just arrest you for no reason.
Yeah.
Of course not.
But do they have to prove to you the reason there and then?
Yeah. They could say that it's prevention of further crime, or obtaining further evidence through questioning. So somebody could have made a report about you, and they could say, we need to arrest you and question you so we can obtain further evidence.
Fine.
Stuff like that's a reason for an arrest. One of the reasons.
Okay. And, when it comes to kind of being in that situation, the police take you to the station. They can keep you there for 24 hours. What's the minimum they have to provide you with when you're in that thing for 24 hours?
They have to give you a right to make a phone call.
To anyone?
One phone call, unless you're being held incommunicado, which basically means you're not allowed to chat to anyone on the outside world apart from your lawyer.
Okay, fine.
Second on the case, they offer you a copy of the PACE, that's the Police and Crime Evidence Act. That's the act that that's the legislation that regulates them, the police. So in that you'll have all the main rules that the police have to abide by. And of course the prison, the cell has to be clean and all sorts. And those are the main rights that people have to be concerned about, because with the police booklet, the PACE booklet, they've got everything in there what the police can't do, what the police should do and whatnot. What are your rights and what are your rights. And with the phone call, you've got, of course, you can inform one of your family members. And sorry, I forgot to mention your right to legal representation. You've got a right to free and independent legal representation, where you don't have to pay anything. It's paid for by the government and it's independent from the police. So you've got that right. Those are three main rights that people need to be worried about or concerned about.
So in that situation, if I've got free legal advice and legal aid, I can call you, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then so how do you?
You don't have to call me if you get arrested. This in the unfortunate circumstances that you get arrested, they'll take you to the police station anyway. Then at the desk they'll ask you, do you have a legal representative? And that's where you say yes, Maurice Andrew.
And then how? So where do you get your private work from if I'm entitled to the free?
So you see, the police station, everybody is entitled to free. The first initial police station.
Yeah.
Everyone is. Yeah. And then after that, then the private work is mainly court based.
Okay, so at that early stages it's free as part of that, but as it then gets to court,
and then, like I said, even if you're not earning any money, you can get legal aid as well. So if you're not earning under, I think it's £36,000, if you're earning underneath that, then you will be entitled to legal aid as well. So you can get legal aid, but people who are earning more than that, then they will have to pay.
Yeah.
Either they pay us or they pay the legal aid contribution scheme. So they will get legal aid for part of the work, and then they have to pay for part and stuff like that. But it's financial, we have to work it out properly and provide details.
So I suppose on that then, you know, if I go to my property conveyancer, gives me a quote, 800 quid to buy a house, yeah, whatever, done. With you, I mean, do you have a rough insight into, and of course everything is different, but like how charging works with you? So anyone who's in an unfortunate situation,
See, it depends if I'm charging by hourly rate or fixed fee. It depends for a normal crime court trial. It all depends on the page count, how many pages you have to read. You're talking about £25,000, £25,000 for a couple of days trial for a normal case. Big cases, of course, where you get leading QCs and stuff like that, and leading barristers, and they can range from 100 grand further up onwards as well. Yeah.
and if you prove the defendant innocent,
Yeah.
and everyone agrees in that, let's say I'm the defendant, I'm paying you 100 grand, or can I counter sue? How can I?
You can't get the money back if that's what you're asking me for.
So essentially, yeah, and I think this is what I read as well. People will have to pay 100 grand, for example, to defend themselves when they're innocent, and you can't sue the courts for it, the police, nothing.
No. There's something called a defence cost order, but I don't know how that. It's sort of where you can claim something back.
I've read it's just a joke in terms of the percent. It's like it's just nothing.
You can,
and they obviously try and take the piss and make it last a long time.
Yeah, it takes long.
It's just they do it on
You've done your
purpose.
research, isn't it?
Listen, when I read these books,
That's good,
like
man.
The Secret Barrister, I just thought,
That's
like,
good.
fuck, this
See,
is
I'm a secret bastard. The one having of this probably more than all we read in the books.
yeah, like honestly, because it's scary to think that you could be in a situation,
But you could be down 100 grand.
yeah, and not of your own fault, and you're
Wrong place
just,
at the wrong time, man.
and it's crazy because sometimes you just can't help that. Of course, you can choose who you hang out with and stuff like that, but if you're wrong place, wrong time, where's that money coming? Like, you know what I mean? It's
Some people don't have the money.
of course, and it's.
Some people don't have the money.
And on that topic, what do you think needs changing in the world of criminal law? I mean, there's probably quite a few things, but is there something that you always think, for God's sake, why is this like this?
Of course, increasing the legal aid budget would be nicer. But a lot of things, I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of things I wouldn't. Some people will think that it needs changing, but I wouldn't. I think it's okay the way it's going. Of course, an increase in the budget would be nice for everybody.
And, you know, you just said there, like, it's kind of okay the way it is. Do you... So, I mean, are you saying that the UK law system is good, I suppose, compared to things globally, perhaps?
Yes,
fair
I mean,
and
look,
just.
yeah, I mean, the defendants are entitled to a fair trial. Like, for example, in Romania now, what happened with the takeover, they've just locked up for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
That can't happen in the UK. They can't just take you like that without a charge. They can't remand you like that. They remanded them for about 3 months. Like that, it's good. I think the UK justice system is the criminal justice system is one of the best in the world. I think, because sometimes it can work against you, sometimes it can work for you. But I prefer it over most of the world's. So.
Yeah. And, you know, as, you know, you're someone who's running the business, so you're doing business management, I suppose. You're creating content, you're representing clients, you're in court, you're doing... How do you balance, if you do, all of that with family, you know, social life, things like that?
It becomes easy. It becomes a norm. It becomes a routine. It becomes, you do something so often that it just becomes a part of you, isn't it? And then, so I'll get up in the morning, I'll go to the gym. First thing I'll do is pray. I'll try to go to the mosque to pray. Most times I'll do. If the Lord chooses me to be there, then after that I'll go to the gym. After gym I'll take one of my kids to school, drop them off to school, I'll come to work, whether I'm working in London, whether I'm working in Liverpool, Manchester, whatever it is. I'll try to get back for about 6-7 o'clock. Come home, I'll take my boy to the gym, boxing gym, have some food, get my laptop for a beer, and I'll go to sleep. I'll still get time to spend time with my boys. I still get time to spend with my wife, and I still manage to get everything done. See, you have to prioritize, isn't it? You can't just sit around and do nothing, you know? So even if I don't have anything to do, I don't sit around doing nothing, you know? Even if I'm with my family, I'll be talking about stuff, good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like sitting idle anyway, so everyone's got the same 24 hours. It's what you do with this, isn't it? It's what you do. It's what you do with it.
And, you know, there was a particular video you put on Instagram I saw where, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a guy, and I saw the video, He had a gun in his hand.
He had gone, yeah.
Walked up to a mini white van thing.
Yeah.
Sort of pointed it. And then you were celebrating that his charges were changed.
Yeah.
And he went from 15 to 5 years.
So basically what happened is he was charged with a conspiracy, a possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. So for having a gun with intent to endanger life, that's what he was originally charged for.
Yeah.
Arrested and charged for that, yeah. We managed to establish, and with the prosecution, we cooperated, they cooperated with us, we cooperated with them, that there's no way that it can be proven that the gun was actually real. The gun was an imitation.
They never found the gun over
The gun was never found, and the bullets they found, we got an expert to say that those kind of bullets can also be used in an imitation firearm. Forget what I mean?
Yeah.
So then the prosecution sort of agreed that, okay, we'll amend the charge to having a gun with intent to cause fear of violence.
Which is a very different charge.
Very different. Intent to endanger life is putting someone's life in danger. Fear of violence.
Potentially kill someone.
Fear of violence. Scaring someone.
Yeah.
So it's two different charges. So where he could have got 14 to 15 years for the intent to endanger life, he got 5 years and 2 months for the fear of violence.
But in that case, if they couldn't prove that the gun was real, why is it even 5 years? In the sense that you're
It's still having a gun to put the fear of violence, if you get what
also, it's like carrying a knife. It's still something that can cause those feelings.
Exactly, because that client at the time wouldn't have known that whether it's imitation, whether it's real. Not the client, sorry, the victim.
Of course, and therefore the effect is the same. They should be punished.
Yes,
in the same light.
Yes, exactly. So the effect on the victim is the same as the victim would have at the time it was real.
Yeah.
So that's why that charge is the perfect charge for this offence.
Interesting. And you know what? People on social media, did you get comments kind of saying? I think I saw some being like,
Disgusting comments.
"Yeah, you're a fraud. You should be in jail for life." All this kind of stuff.
Why? Why would you want to send someone to life for doing something like that? When they come out of prison, they're going to be a career criminal because they've been around that crime for the last 10 to 15 years of their life. So when they come out of prison, they're probably going to turn into bigger criminals. They're probably going to recruit more criminals that they know from prison, and they probably do more crime. Whereas this kid is only, I think, 19 years old. He's going to come out in a year or two and try to do, I suppose he's a good kid. He's a good kid. I've spoken to him. He wants to get out, get a job, probably start studying, wants to do something with his life. So why take the opportunity? Why take someone's life, childhood years, teenage, 20s away from them? Why? You can't do that to someone.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't think like that. People shouldn't comment like that. I don't like those sort of comments. I mean, if it was their son that unfortunately got involved in circumstances like that, would they say exactly the same thing? No, they wouldn't.
No.
They'll be the first to call me. Help my boy.
Of course.
So.
And people like to jump off just, the first thing you say and the first thing instead of...
See, look, social media, like you said, a lot of people do it. A lot of other solicitors are doing it as well. But it's about engagement, isn't it? It's about engaging people to watch you, because people only watch you for the first 1-2 seconds. If it's not interesting, that's right. So I have to make my videos interesting. And I told that clip, which was from his family business. So these people attacked his family business. When this happens, they came in, the full video is they came in with machetes and swords, and he had to run inside there, and then that's where he found a fake gun and shot him.
And did they get prosecuted for the machete?
No, because they had bike covers on.
This is just the world, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So people have to look at both sides. If they had caught that boy, they would have probably killed him.
Yeah, and maybe even got away with it if they had ballies on.
Yeah.
And these cases are so interesting, and I think it's important that you're drawing light to this, because otherwise we'd hear about it in newspapers and they like to twist, whereas you're coming at it from a legal, these are the facts, this is the law, this is it. So it's nice to hear it from someone that's sort of not necessarily neutral, but the language and the angle is neutral. It's law. This is a law perspective on this.
Yeah.
And there was one other one where I think there was a guy sitting next to you, and was it 200 kg of heroin or cocaine?
Heroin it was.
So what was
Pakistan.
he? What was he being accused for, and then what happened?
He's been accused of being one of the main guys, importers, for importing over 220 kilos of heroin from Pakistan. How they were importing it in was plastic balls and pens and stuff like that.
So when the uncles say I'm in import-export, this is
Good. So the 220 kilos were over a 6-month period, I believe.
Okay.
So every now and again they would send about 20 like that, any build. So my client got charged because of a family member, or one of the other co-conspirators who was serving now 20 years or just above almost 20 years for the same case. So his instructions were that I was not guilty. And the prosecution, in that case, they couldn't prove that he was actually actively involved in the importation. They couldn't prove if he knew what was in those parcels, even though he received the parcels at his home address. They could not prove that he knew what was inside the parcels because he simply picked them up and used to take them somewhere to his family member. And they used to open it, whatever they did with it. It got intercepted by the National Crime Agency. So what they did, they put recording devices in there.
Smart.
Smart, that's what they do.
And even with that, they couldn't prove.
No, they
Because he could have just thought it was masala coming in from Pakistan.
and then, so at the end of the day, they couldn't prove what he knew what was inside there. And there's a few mistakes that the prosecution made, which obviously we latched onto, which we have to latch onto. We have to. That's our job. And it was an awesome result.
Totally innocent, walked away.
Walked away, not guilty, but he was on remand for over 6 months.
And remand means?
In prison, waiting for trial.
And again, there's no
compensation, nothing.
You just suffer and deal with the mental issues afterwards and everything. Just.
I mean, a lot of people go through that. Even there was a girl recently, her name's Eleanor Williams. She accused three separate men of grooming her and raping her. It was found out that she was lying. She got 8 years prison, but these guys had to suffer inside remand until this came to light that she was lying and she was making these allegations up, falsely accusing these gentlemen. And they had rapists written on the wall at the front of their house. They served I don't know how much months inside prison for a grooming charge, raping. So imagine how they were looked at inside prison. Imagine how they were treated inside prisons, especially from other inmates and prison officers. Everything. Of course, they're not going to be treated like angels, are they?
Yeah.
And it came to light that she was lying.
And this takes time just because the legal system is slow and just gathering.
It's not slow. I mean, of course, if somebody makes an allegation, it takes time, doesn't it? Of course, if somebody makes an allegation, somebody gets arrested, and the case gets adjourned for a trial, and then the trial, of course, doesn't happen straight away. If somebody's on remand, they have 6 months within to bring that case to court. If somebody's not on remand, if somebody's out on bail, waiting for trial, it would take a year, 2 years even. But if somebody's on remand, then they have to have a trial within 6 months, and that's how the system works. So magistrates court first. From there, the case goes to the Crown Court. It gets sent to the Crown Court, and then after that, it goes to dates. Trial dates are set, and when trial dates are set, then there's a trial.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, being in that situation would be painful in so many ways. Just waiting, the kind of uncertainty, the not knowing, the costs, the mental cost. There's so much that goes into that. And you have a catchphrase. What is it?
There's a defence for every offence. That's my catchphrase. Yeah.
And essentially, it means that if you're accused of something, there will be there will be some level of defence in law that could support you. Is that?
Yeah, of course, something like that. Yeah, and I'm glad you said it like that. Some level of defence.
Yeah,
because not every offence has a defence in law. But like what I say, there's some strict liability offences. You probably read up about it. For example, possession of a firearm. Now that's a strict liability offence. But if you go to court and you plead not guilty, what are you doing? You're going to put forward some sort of explanation, some sort of defence. Otherwise, you're going to plead guilty, are you?
Yeah.
I've had people who've got found not guilty of a possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life charge. So they put forward a defence and they said they're not guilty. And
is that despite being sort of seen with the firearm, or?
No, firearms found in the car.
Fine.
find the car. Yeah.
Interesting. You know, this has been super, super insightful, I think, because, you know, your content on Instagram and Reels definitely highlights some things, but it's good to talk about it in depth.
In depth, yeah, of course.
And for me personally, kind of, you know, coming from maybe more of a prosecution angle previously, I now understand the defense, and I now understand why. I get your ethics around it, and it's kind of changed it's kind of got me thinking a lot about the ethics and morals. So,
Thank you, brother.
you know what I mean? If you can do that, then I think a lot of people watching this can maybe change their minds as well.
They need to, I mean, just because somebody is accused of a crime, it doesn't mean that they've committed that crime. If that was the case, people would get arrested and get thrown straight into jail. When somebody is charged after being arrested, then the case is going to be either tried in a court or somebody goes and pleads guilty. That's when they're convicted. So just because somebody is accused of a crime, it doesn't mean that they committed that crime. People need to take that mindset away, and less people need to be convicted and more people need to be educated.
I agree. Well said. Great way to end it. Ahmed, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. All your contact details, all your details will be in the show notes. So go give Ahmed a follow. The content is really engaging and really interesting. And yeah, if you need help, give him a call.
Remember, there's a defense for every offense.